shadows in the murk. The full moon cast an airy glow of a cursed swamp of doom, its light barely penetrating the dense fog that clung to the twisted trees and murky waters. A group of friends huddled around a flickering campfire, their laughter tinged with an edge of nervousness as they prepared to spend the night in the heart of the swamp. They were an eclectic mix of thrill-seekers, each driven by their desire to prove their courage in the face of the unknown. As the sun dipped below the horizon and the shadows lengthened, their laughter turned to whispers, and the oppressive atmosphere of the swamp seemed to close in around them. Venturing away from the safety of their campfire, the friends explored the treacherous paths that wound through the swamp. The fog grew thicker, and the air felt heavy, as if the very swamp itself was trying to suffocate them. As they trudged through the knee-deep water, they began to notice strange shapes moving beneath the surface, twisted, shadowy figures that seemed to follow their every move, their distorted faces barely visible through the murk. At first, the friends dismissed the shapes as figments of their overactive imaginations, but as the night wore on, the creatures became bolder, emerging from the water to reveal their true forms. The friends stared in horror as the once human figures approached them, their limbs twisted and elongated, their faces contorted with pain and hunger. The creatures, cursed to dwell in the swamp for eternity, reached out with clawed hands, desperate to drag the friends into the murky depths and share their fate. Panic gripped the group as they stumbled through the swamp, pursued by the relentless shadows in the murk. As the darkness closed in around them, the friends realized that they were not only fighting for their lives but for their very souls, for they now understood that the creatures were the remnants of those who had dared to challenge the swamp and had paid the ultimate price. With newfound determination, the friends banded together, using their wits and courage to outmaneuver the creatures that hunted them. They navigated the treacherous paths, narrowly avoiding the grasping hands of the cursed beings, their hearts pounding in their chests. As dawn broke, the friends stumbled out of the swamp, their clothes torn and their bodies bruised, but their spirits unbroken. The twisted, shadowy creatures slunk back into the murky waters, defeated and consumed by their eternal torment. The friends vowed never to speak of the horrors they had witnessed in the cursed swamp of doom, but the memory of the shadows in the murk would haunt them for the rest of their lives. In the swamp, that dark and malevolent place continued to whisper its secrets, a siren call for those brave or foolish enough to answer. The Bog of Lost Souls. Whispers and rumors clung to the cursed swamp of doom like a shroud, the tales of vanished travelers and eerie happenings fueling the dread that consumed the small town on its outskirts. Despite the sinister reputation of the swamp, young Emily was drawn to it, her innocent curiosity outweighing the warnings of her fearful father. One fateful afternoon, Emily ventured too close to the swamp's edge, and in the blink of an eye she was swallowed up by the shadows that lurked within. Her disappearance sent shockwaves through the town, and her father, driven by love and desperation, swore to find his lost daughter, even if it meant braving the cursed landscape that had claimed her. Armed with little more than a lantern and a heart filled with determination, Emily's father plunged into the cursed swamp of doom, following the faintest of trails that he hoped would lead him to his beloved child. The swamp seemed to come alive around him, its twisted trees and tangled vines reaching out like hungry tendrils, seeking to ensnare him in their grasp. But as he ventured deeper into the swamp, he stumbled upon a hidden bog, a nightmarish place shrouded in an unnatural darkness that seemed to swallow up the light from his lantern. The air was thick with despair and the haunting cries of lost souls, their spectral forms barely visible in the gloom. The Bog of Lost Souls, as it was known to the ancient inhabitants of the town, was a place where the spirits of the damned were trapped in eternal torment, their souls unable to move on further, bound to the swamp's insatiable hunger. Emily's father, horrified by the gruesome sight, pressed on, his every step weighed down by the anguish that surrounded him. He could feel the cold, icy grip of the bog on his soul, threatening to drag him down into its depths. But amidst the wails of the tormented spirits, he heard a faint cry that cut through the darkness, a glimmer of hope that spurred him on. It was Emily's voice calling out to him from the heart of the bog. Desperate to save his daughter, he fought against the swamp's pull, his love for Emily providing him with the strength to resist the darkness that sought to claim him. As he reached the center of the bog, he found Emily, her small form huddled and shivering, surrounded by the wraith-like spirits of the lost. With a fierce determination, Emily's father defied the swamp, his love for his daughter breaking the hold that the Bog of Lost Souls had upon her. The lost souls wailed in anger and frustration, but they could not stop him, as he pulled Emily into his arms and carried her out of the nightmare that had almost consumed them both. As they emerged from the cursed swamp of doom, the sun began to rise, casting its warm, golden light upon them. The town rejoiced at their miraculous return, the love between a father and his daughter having triumphed over the darkness that had sought to claim them. But the Bog of Lost Souls remained hidden within the depths of the swamp, its insatiable hunger undiminished, waiting for the next unsuspecting soul to venture too close to its deadly embrace. The haunting of Mosswood Manor. On the outskirts of the cursed swamp of doom stood the derelict Mosswood Manor, its crumbling walls and overgrown gardens as a testament to the tragic memories that haunted its past inhabitants. The manor, long abandoned, had become a part of the local lore, its ever-presence casting a shadow over the nearby towns. When a wealthy entrepreneur, Mr. Charles Redfern, purchased the property, the townspeople watched with a mix of curiosity and dread as he began to restore the manor to its former glory. They whispered amongst themselves, questioning why the outsider would choose to settle in such a cursed place. As Mr. Redfern settled into his new home, he found himself plagued by strange occurrences that he could not explain. Objects moved of their own accord, whispers echoed through the halls, and the feeling of being watched followed him from room to room. It soon became apparent that Mosswood Manor was haunted by vengeful spirits, their restless energy bound to the house and the swamp beyond. Determined to escape the curse, Mr. Redfern delved into the dark history of the manor, searching for clues that would help him understand the ghosts that tormented him. He learned of the manor's previous inhabitants, a wealthy family who had been co-opted by the swamp's evil influence. Driven mad by their lust for power, they had become monstrous beings, their twisted souls forever trapped in the house they had once called home. As he dug deeper, Mr. Redfern discovered a hidden entrance to an underground chamber beneath the manor. With trepidation, he descended into the darkness, seeking the truth that lay hidden beneath the swamp. There he found an ancient artifact, pulsing with dark energy, its power the source of the swamp's curse. Mr. Redfern realized that the spirits haunting the manor sought to protect the swamp's secrets, fearing the consequences if the artifact fell into the wrong hands. He knew that to break the curse and free the trapped souls, he would have to destroy the artifact and sever its connection to the cursed swamp of doom. Armed with his newfound knowledge and determination, Mr. Redfern ventured into the heart of the swamp, intent on confronting the darkness that had consumed the lives of so many. He fought his way through the twisted trees and murky waters, battling the swamp's malevolent forces and the vengeful spirits that sought to stop him. In the swamp's darkest depths, Mr. Redfern found the source of the artifact's power, a sinister portal to an otherworldly realm. With a final desperate act of courage, he hurled the artifact into the portal, severing its connection to the swamp and shattering the curse that had plagued Mosswood Manor. As the portal closed, the vengeful spirits that had haunted the manor were released from their torment, finally able to find peace. The swamp's evil influence began to wane, and Mosswood Manor, once a symbol of darkness and tragedy, stood as a testament to the power of one man's determination to confront the past and reclaim his home. And though the cursed swamp of doom would forever remain a place of mystery and fear, the haunting of Mosswood Manor was at last laid to rest. The Serpent's Breath. The sun dipped below the horizon as the five friends gathered around a flickering campfire, each of them eager to prove their bravery in the face of the cursed swamp of doom. Their laughter echoed through the trees, a desperate attempt to keep the creeping dread at bay. "Have you heard the story of the Serpent's Breath?" whispered Aaron, his eyes wide with a mix of fear and excitement. The others shook their heads, captivated by the tales of the ancient serpent that was said to lurk in the depths of the swamp. The legend spoke of a monstrous snake, its body twisted and gnawed like the roots of the trees that surrounded them. Its breath. The story went, emboldened by the thrill of the unknown. The teenagers set out into the swamp, armed with only their flashlights and the wild curiosity that accompanies youth. The fog grew denser as they ventured further, their flashlights casting eerie shadows on the moss-covered trees. As they waded through the knee-deep water, something slithered beneath the surface, unseen but undeniably present. The air grew colder, and an unnatural silence descended upon the swamp. Suddenly the water churned, and a colossal head emerged from the depths. The serpent's eyes were black as midnight, and its scales shimmered with an ethereal glow. The teenagers froze, their hearts pounding in their chests, as the creature regarded them with an unsettling intelligence. And with a hiss, the serpent exhaled, and a cloud of thick, green fog spilled from its mouth. The air became acrid and suffocating, the stench of decay and corruption filling their nostrils. The teens choked and gasped, their lungs burning as the deadly mist enveloped them. One by one they fell to the ground, their bodies convulsing as the serpent's breath stole their souls. The swamp once again fell silent, save for the whispers of the ancient serpent and the sound of its sinuous form disappearing into the murky waters. Days later, search parties found the teenagers' lifeless bodies, their faces frozen in eternal horror. But the truth of their tragic fate remained hidden, a secret guarded by the swamp and the monstrous serpent that haunted its depths. From that day on, the cursed Swamp of Doom became an even darker place, a place where whispers of the serpent's breath were carried by the wind, and the souls of the lost were forever bound to the murky waters. As word of the teenagers' horrifying fate spread through the small town, people began to avoid the cursed Swamp of Doom. The swamp's sinister aura seemed to grow stronger, as if feeding on the fear that now consumed the townspeople. Years passed, and the legend of the serpent's breath became nothing more. A chilling tale told around campfires to scare children, but for those who had lost loved ones to the swamp, the pain and anguish remained, an ever-present reminder of the horrors that lurked in the shadows. One evening, a young woman named Eliza ventured into the swamp, determined to uncover the truth behind her brother's mysterious disappearance. He had been one of the teenagers who had perished in the serpent's lair, and Eliza could not shake the feeling that there was more to the story than the town's whispered legends. Armed with a backpack of supplies and her unwavering resolve, Eliza delved deeper into the swamp, following the same path the ill-fated group had taken years before. The air grew colder and the fog thicker, but she pushed on, fueled by the need for answers. As Eliza reached the heart of the swamp, she came across a gnarled tree, its roots twisted and tangled like the body of the legendary serpent. Taking a deep breath, she approached the tree and noticed a faint, ethereal glow emanating from the base of the trunk. Suddenly, the swamp came alive with whispers, and Eliza found herself surrounded by the lost souls of those who had fallen victim to the serpent's breath. Their ghostly forms flickered in the fog, their eyes pleading for help, for release from their eternal torment. Among the tormented souls, Eliza spotted her brother, his face a mix of hope and despair. "Eliza," he whispered, his voice barely audible over the chilling cacophony of cries. "You must free us from this curse." Determined to save her brother and the other lost souls, Eliza searched the swamp for a way to break the serpent's grip. As she wandered, stumbled upon an ancient tome, its pages filled with forgotten knowledge and arcane rituals. In its depths, she found a spell that could release the souls ensnared by the serpent's breath. But at a terrible cost, the one who performed the ritual would be forever bound to the swamp, acting as its guardian and protector. With a heavy heart, Eliza made her decision. She returned to the gnarled tree and began the ritual, her voice steady. As she recited the ancient words, the air crackled with energy, and the lost souls shimmered with renewed hope. As the ritual neared its completion, the serpent's breath began to disperse, and the souls of the victims floated free, ascending towards the heavens. Eliza's brother looked back at her, his eyes filled with gratitude and love. "Thank you," he whispered before disappearing into the night sky. Eliza felt the weight of the curse settle upon her, binding her to the swamp for eternity. She knew that she would never leave this place. But as she looked upon the souls she had saved, she knew that her sacrifice had not been in vain, and so the cursed Swamp of Doom remained. But with a new guardian watching over it, the legend of the serpent's breath faded into obscurity, replaced by tales of the brave young woman who had sacrificed herself to save the souls of the lost. The Witch's Resurgence. The cursed Swamp of Doom had always been a place of mystery and terror, but when a team of archaeologists discovered the hidden lair of the infamous witch Morgana, the terror only deepened. The discovery had been a monumental one, promising to shed light on the dark history that had long haunted the swamp. The lair, hidden beneath an ancient oak tree, was filled with artifacts and remnants of Morgana's dark past. As the archaeologists delved deeper into the witch's secrets, they unknowingly broke the seal that had imprisoned her dark magic for centuries. Morgana, a powerful and vengeful witch who had once terrorized the small town that bordered the swamp. The townspeople had banded together to banish her, imprisoning her dark magic within the lair. For centuries the witch had slumbered, but now she had awakened, her thirst for vengeance unquenchable. But as night fell upon the swamp, the air crackled with the resurgence of Morgana's dark power. The once dormant trees now writhed and twisted, their gnarled branches reaching out like skeletal fingers, eager to do their mistress's bidding. The witch emerged from her lair, her eyes burning with rage as she gazed upon the swamp. With a wave of her hand, she summoned the spirits of the damned, long trapped within the murky depths of the swamp, and commanded them to seek out the descendants of those who had imprisoned her. One by one, the townspeople began to fall victim to Morgana's wrath. The witch's loyal spirits crept into the shadows, stalking their prey with ruthless precision. The swamp, once a place of dread, had now become a hunting ground for the vengeful witch and her spectral minions. Desperate for answers, the surviving townspeople sought the help of an enigmatic historian, Professor Graham. He revealed that the only way to stop Morgana was to reimprison her dark magic within the lair. A small group of volunteers, including the surviving archaeologists and descendants of those who had originally banished Morgana, ventured into the heart of the swamp. With Professor Graham's guidance, they sought the means to bind the witch's power once again. Their journey was fraught with danger as Morgana's spirits hunted them relentlessly through the twisted trees and dark waters. The swamp itself seemed to come alive, its vines and roots snaking around the group's ankles, trying to pull them into the murky depths. At last, the group reached the ancient oak that hid Morgana's lair. With trembling hands, they gathered the artifacts that had once bound her magic and began the ritual to imprison her power again. The air hummed with energy as if the very swamp itself was resisting their efforts. As the ritual reached its climax, Morgana herself appeared before them, her face twisted with rage. The witch unleashed a dark magic, hurling blasts of energy at the group, trying to break their concentration and halt the ritual. But the volunteers, driven by the desire to save their town and avenge their loved ones, held firm, their voices rising in unison as they chanted the words that would bind Morgana once more. The swamp shuddered and groaned, the trees creaking and swaying as the battle between the witch and the descendants raged on. With a final desperate scream, Morgana launched a massive wave of dark energy at the group, determined to annihilate them and secure her freedom. But the group's resolve was stronger than the witch's fury. They held their ground, absorbing the impact of Morgana's attack. As they completed the ritual, the air crackled with power, and the witch's body began to disintegrate, her dark magic drawn back into the lair and sealed away once more. The swamp fell silent, its twisted trees and vines returning to their dormant state. Morgana's spirits, no longer bound to her will, vanished into the darkness, leaving the swamp a place of eerie tranquility. Exhausted but triumphant, the group returned to the town, where they were hailed as heroes. The story of their bravery spread far and wide, and the town slowly began to heal from the horrors that Morgana had unleashed upon them. Though the witch's dark magic had been sealed away once more, the cursed swamp of doom retained its sinister reputation. The townspeople were left to wonder if one day Morgana might rise again, her vengeance as fierce and unrelenting as ever. And so, the swamp remained a place of whispers and shadows, a testament to the dark power that had once ruled it and the brave souls who had fought to protect their town from the witch's resurgence.